This is the bench clearing, bounce passing, hip checking, ankle breaking from way downtown by a nose thumb sticking show you need to know. Welcome to the pregame.
All right, well, thanks for joining us for the second episode of the Pregame's 2015 Summer Series. The Pregame is the official podcast of Boxscore, where sports are always at the tip of your fingers. It's Tuesday, July 14th, 2015. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, here along with your colored commentator, Philip Stella.
What's up, everybody? How are you doing?
So we are talking golf and racing, as you could tell from the intro. We didn't have the golf clap, but we can enter that in right now. We've been playing a lot of Rory lately, so we got a bunch of Rory chatter now that's released for you, and then there's been some new racing games that are on the docket. So, and there's actually a secret game that we uncovered that Phil's going to talk to you about. But before we dive into that sort of stuff, we wanted to cover off on the pay up, so we streamed earlier this week.
Jesus.
And it's a reboot though, so we wiped the slate clean.
It is. Yeah, thank God.
Yep, yeah, we played a little Rory McIlroy on our EA Access 10 hours of trial, little arcade style in Coyote Falls, and the winner was me.
Again.
Well, no, it's reboot. This is the first time it won.
I know, but these people have been around. They know the deal.
That's right. So if you guys aren't familiar with the pay up, we stream a sports game periodically throughout the year, and we're going to keep a running tally, and the winner at the end of the year gets something. We still haven't figured that out, but we will soon. But we have that video up on our YouTube channel if you haven't checked it out. Scope us out. It's under the Boxscore YouTube channel, so please check that out. In the meantime, Phil, what have you been up to lately? It's I guess we've been in touch, but tell the viewers what you've been up to.
I haven't been doing much of anything. I was under the weather last week, so I wasn't able to do a whole lot, and I couldn't take off work, so it was pretty much just
yikes.
Miserable throughout the day. But I had a good weekend, coming in fresh today for this show. So I haven't had many life events happen to me, except for that my son got through a whole week of being in underwear at school. So we're fully potty trained now, I believe.
Nice. No accidents? Yeah. All good?
No accidents last week. He actually had one yesterday a little bit at school. So,
yeah,
but that's okay. It's bound to happen.
Yep.
He has plenty of Ninja Turtle underwear to go through. So
yeah, we all went through that at one point. Nice. Yeah, what have you been playing lately? What do you little golf?
Well, I've been doing a little Rory, as you know. I'm kind of ashamed that I've been playing more Destiny, but I have. Everybody is. They're like, I know, but you all know.
We know why you're playing.
Yeah, because you are too. Secretly, you're going to come back to it. Yeah, that's all I've been doing really. Did a little yard work. That's about it.
Oh yeah. I did some of that too. Our neighbors are getting a fence now, and we have this lilac that actually separates our 2 yards, and it was just kind of getting in the way, so I had to rip out a bush this weekend.
You're a bushwhacker.
Right. Getting in, we're putting in a new deck here pretty soon. So all this fun, boring adult stuff that we're doing right now.
Husband
stuff. Yeah, exactly. But you gotta do it, right? You gotta do it. Other than that, I've been doing a little Rory. I played quite a bit actually. Played with you and the pay up. A couple of the Boxscore members. I played with the other night, and my buddy Wiki, we played last night as well. A little couch co-op, which we don't do very often.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was
Nice.
good.
I'm glad that that's there.
Yep, and then Rocket League also. I did play Rocket League as we covered. You covered that last week.
Yeah.
I
What was your experience? Was it extremely fun?
It was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think it's gonna be a lot more fun with the online multiplayer aspect of
Hmm.
it. But I just sat down and ran through a couple matches, and it's car soccer. It's awesome. it's
It's
it's a
car
ton of fun.
soccer.
Yeah, exactly.
As if that
Um,
doesn't sound cool enough.
yeah, I was having a little trouble. Maybe it's just my PC settings. The frame rate was a little wacky, so I don't know if the PS4 people are having better luck with that, or if I just have to readjust. But yeah, it's a ton of fun. It's an arcade game that we've been wanting, and I'm sure I'll fire it up every once in a while. So it's good. Yeah, why don't we talk about real quick before we dive into the rest of the show? As I mentioned at the top of the show, the pregame is the official podcast of Boxscore. We're talking all sports all the time, all sports video games. We throw in some real sports every once in a while as well. But we've been talking a lot of golf in there lately, and then some of the new releases. One of the games we're going to cover later on is Trials Fusion, Awesome Level Max. Got some talk about that, and every week on the show we poll the group and just talk about see what's on the mind, something topical. So this week we ask what would need to change in order for you to buy Rory McIlroy. We'll get into more details about Rory, but the reviews are mixed, and it sounds like, let's see here, we have Augusta, which we covered on last week.
Hmm.
If Augusta was in there, that would be a buy. It looks like more modes and more golfers. Robert Stelton poll. And let's see, Ryan Hahn didn't know it was released. He didn't pay attention.
But he went
Um,
right out and purchased it.
he did instantly on his phone, which is a good and bad thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we didn't get a whole lot of response this week, but it sounds like, as we'll get into later, it's a little light on content, but um, it's a fun experience. So yeah, why don't we just dive into that, to little Rory? What were your thoughts right away, Phil? Um,
Well, I enjoyed it. I especially enjoyed our pay up. Even though I lost, it was fun. It was a good time. The course was fun. It took some. There was a few holes there where we were kind of like, how do I want to attack this?
mhm.
So the course variety seems okay. I mean, it's got, like, what can you do with courses? You know what I mean? The landscaping and everything, to me, the amount of courses isn't a huge deal. Yes, I want some variety, but do I need an abundance of variety? No, just because they're all going to start looking the same to me anyways, except for something like the Coyote Falls or some of the arcade maps they
Fancy
have.
ones, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and if they kept adding those, along the way, that would be really awesome. Um, install like some other things from, maybe like a Plants vs Zombies,
Hmm.
other EA
Yeah. I like that idea.
properties. That would be really fun. But yeah,
The
the gameplay seems really good. So I mean, solid first impression.
And so do you like so did you like playing the arcade mode that we were playing, or more kind of the traditional limited tour gameplay style?
I haven't actually tried the non-arcade.
Okay.
I don't think I would do that though. I think I would stick with the arcade because I don't want to be overly frustrated.
Yeah.
And the one con that I took away from the game right away after firing it up and playing for an hour or two, or the other day, was just that is there enough here? Like, there's just not. It's
Hmm.
not exciting. There isn't things going on. Obviously, it's golf. You know what I mean? And it
Well,
is a
yeah.
golf atmosphere.
Hmm.
Um, but I wouldn't want to play that true to form simulation. I would like the arcade, the hitting and the way you can backspin the ball and get the power, just to add a little bit more flair to it. That's all.
Yeah,
As you
no, I hear
know,
that.
I like the arcade style games. I like sim games as well, but when you kind of have just that added element to a sim like golf, which is just slower in pace, it definitely brightens up the day for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tiger for me, the Tiger Woods franchise became just an arcade golf game kind of in the middle run. I think they got a little bit more of a simulation towards the end
You're
there.
right, it definitely did.
But it was, I mean, that's how I traditionally played for years and years. Just, power up, whack the ball as far as you can, spin it, get it as like ridiculously close to the hole. And in this version, actually, when I was playing with Wiki last night, he figured it out quicker than I did. But it has that arc, that blue line that shows you where
Mhm.
the ball is. That shows you exactly where the ball is going to hit, no matter like the height of the green or where the wind is. Like that tells you exactly where the ball is going to hit, and it'll sway a little bit based off of the wind. But if
The
you just
wind,
line
right?
that thing up right on top of the hole and give it a good swing, I mean, you'll be within 5 feet every time, if not
Now,
in the
but
hole.
you do have to get the max swing out of that, though, right? If you don't fill that little bubble up with green at the top of your backswing, it's not going to get there, right?
Well, for drive, yeah, I mean, you want to do that power, but for just an approach shot, you just
Hmm.
essentially just have to line up the blue and have a 100% swing, and it'll it'll
Right.
be right
Okay.
there.
So you have to fill up the
Hmm.
backswing 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's where it will, for me, it'll get too easy, and that was always my frustration with Tiger, is it got to the point, I always did the career, and I actually haven't
Hmm.
dove too much into the career mode in this game yet. I'm probably going to start a little bit of that this week, but I would always do the career, and I would get to a point where I would just, well, it makes the most sense to put all my attributes into power, because that way I can hit it as far as possible.
Hmm.
And then it would just be way too easy, and I would kill everybody, and it wouldn't be fun. And I don't think I'd ever actually finish a career. I would just get to a point where all of a sudden I could win, every tournament, and then just
Yeah. It's
hang it up.
like yeah. I mean, if you're like me, and I feel the same exact way as you, Colin, that those games do get too easy. And that's part of my apprehension towards, because I don't want to be frustrated,
Hmm.
but then I don't want to have too easy of a time. That happens to me a lot in the FIFA games. When I actually get really good, it's like, okay, I've got to amp the difficulty up. But when I do that, it's almost to the point where I'm throwing the controller into the TV.
Right.
Um, it's a hard balance to find that mix. And I don't know in golf if you can, in other games, football, baseball, FIFA, etc., you can put in a harder difficulty, but then kind of change some of the settings to customize it a little bit to where it's not impossible, but it's still difficult.
Right.
In golf, I don't know that you could do that. I'm not sure. We haven't inspected that. But that's definitely the same con I would have, and the apprehension I would have to running out and making this purchase right away.
Hmm.
It is a game definitely that I would play, but is it a game that I would play often enough to justify a purchase?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
And we'll
Yeah.
talk about that, I'm sure, a little later.
So
So,
we played online, and I
mhm.
think the online is actually quite a bit of fun, because you're just shooting the shit with your buddy, hanging out, and you're golfing at the same time, which speeds up rounds quite a bit.
Absolutely.
When I played last night with Wiki, we were at couch co-op, so we were switching back and forth, and a round took, I think, almost 45 minutes, whereas our match is like 25 or something like that.
Hmm.
So it cut down on timing quite a bit. And if you're hanging out couch co-op, it doesn't really matter, because you're having fun doing whatever.
Sure. Sure.
But if you want to play with randoms online, and you just want to blow through a couple matches for fun, some ranked matches, and get some scores online, you don't want to be there for an hour for each tournament.
Yeah, and I liked the way that they did the online where I could see your ball drop or you could see
Hmm.
mine, and then you would just pop in on the green when you were there ready to take your shot.
Yep.
Um, that was
Yeah, I
really
think that
cool.
they have some tweaks, I think. I would actually like to see the golfer the entire time, but it seemed like he would appear and then disappear.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
think they need to tweak that a little bit, but
I
um,
would love to get some extra lines of commentary too with that, it's set up as a versus mode. It would be awesome if, the commentators could actually talk to that, maybe in between shots or something, they could show animations of the two golfers like walking together, whatever it is. I don't know how you'd do that, but that would be the immersion then would be really good.
Yeah, if you had each had your avatar going and you'd be like, have your arm around your buddy or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, that would just be really cool if it just gave you a little bit more. It seemed like they did what they had to do for that mode, and that was kind of it. And it's still very, very fun. The actual gameplay of it was very fun. And if I was going to purchase this game, right now, this week, as it comes out today, that would be the reason, would be the online play. And if we get enough of our community,
that would be the value for you. That would be
absolutely. Yeah. Because if we had enough of our Boxscore community, and it seems like we've already got a few, that would definitely be something, because I know I'd always have someone there to play with, and that would definitely sway me in the green on purchasing that sooner than later. It is a game I definitely want. Am I willing to wait for EA access or a sale? Maybe. We'll see.
What do you think of the visuals, the look, the graphics, the Frostbite 3 engine? How'd they do that?
I mean, we know the Frostbite 3 engine is really powerful, and I was unimpressed, to be honest with you. I may be in the minority here, but there were a lot of things that I could see. There was a lot of pop-ins. There was some screen tearing. Like even the simple, like when it was zooming down, like when you first start and it zooms down on like the country club, and all these bushes just start kind of popping in and the flowers start popping in, and I'm just like, really? And it's the frame rate on that part is awful. So it's I don't know. It takes me back a step to, a 360 game or even before that, where certain things look really blocky and it just doesn't look as smooth as what I know the Frostbite 3 engine can do.
Yeah, so maybe that's something that they can fix. We'll see. I think the game is going to have continued support because it's not going to be an annualized game. So I'm sure we'll get patches, and we've talked about we're going to get more courses and more golfers, and at the start, at least, it's all going to be free. So we'll see how much they shove in there to add to that value, and then I'm sure it'll be paid DLC down the road. So hopefully they fix that sort of stuff. I think my first impression, the courses themselves, I think they look they look great, actually. I really enjoy doing the Parcel Storm, the Battlefield 4. If you're a Battlefield 4 player, if you've messed around with that game at all, it'll look familiar, so I thought that was cool. Just the experience of having that ship come in and crash into the course, I think was pretty cool. But I think it is missing some presentation elements that I guess I've become accustomed to over the years. Like there's not really much of a flyover of the hole before you address the ball, and it didn't seem like you could actually get to a flyover. You can hold down, we're on Xbox, you hold down Y and it gives you kind of a little bit of a bird's eye view and then flies over, right? But I want to be able to do just like a sexy, check out, how amazing this hole is, type of presentation. So I definitely felt that was lacking. But I'm actually happy with the way that the game looks visually.
Yeah, and it does. I didn't mean to make it sound like it was awful or looking like a last generation game. There's just pieces of it that I was kind of like, oh wow, that jumped out at me right away. And I generally don't have an eye for those things. I generally don't see the blemishes that some of the hardcore, quote unquote graphics guys see. But when I notice things, I'm like, wow, that's bad, because I usually don't ever notice those things. Yeah, but you're right. The courses are beautiful. The player models are they're good. I don't know about great. They're good. The clothes and stuff, they're okay. I haven't gotten that far into it, so I don't know.
It didn't look like there was much any really clothes physics that I noticed, like where you
kind of had the same wrinkles in your shirt. Yeah. Which is odd considering some of the basketball tech and things like, you know, you'd think you'd get a little bit of that. And I wanted to Totally just brain farted. So I was about to say it'll come back. We'll readdress it.
Clothing,
Oh,
billowy.
I remember already. So it actually has nothing to do with clothing.
Okay.
To your point about it being not being an annualized franchise, which will definitely help, with the patches and things, and maybe even some graphics patches that they might come out with. That is also a reason that I am actually less inclined to go out and purchase this thing right away. Being an EA Access member and knowing how quickly some of these games have come to EA Access, this thing is not an annualized, so I don't have to worry about this thing being old already.
Sure.
So we'll see if they follow suit with this game. I don't know. If it picks up steam, they probably won't.
It'll be interesting because it's typically like maybe 8 months, 9 months when a game from when they're released to put on to the EA Access Vault. So it'll be interesting to see if it's a non-annualized game, if they'll do that same thing, or if they'll actually use it to help push subscriptions. Maybe they'll just wait a few months, throw it on there, and say, hey, for $30, you get this amazing golf game as well as amazing. That's that's what they'll tell you, and you get all of these other games. Who knows?
Yeah, and I it's funny because EA is balancing on that line of, okay, we're gonna push out these subs, push out these subscriptions. And it's funny because, after that 6 month period, that half a year period goes by, and maybe the units stop moving as much. Let's be honest, they would rather have someone pick up a subscription at that point than a used copy of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, because they're going to continue to make money. And let's be honest, most people don't even realize there's a yearly subscription fee that is so much cheaper than the monthly subscription fee.
Oh, is that right? They go month to month?
You can go month to month at like $4.99, or you can go 1 year for $29.99. That just makes sense. Right. Not to mention there's like 11 games in there now, so it's like ridiculous. But it's smart because EA knows, like, okay, once we get to the 6 month mark, and like we're looking at right around the holiday, and people aren't buying this game. Let's see what the sales are for the holiday. Maybe January, February. They're like, let's just push it out into the EA Access and get some subscriptions from that. I'm good with that. I'm good. Like this fall, and this is what I posted in the Boxscore community. This fall is flooded with material, sports games and otherwise. So I don't know. I don't know if this game has enough for me to make the $60 purchase, because once this other stuff comes out, I don't know how much I'm going to touch it. Be completely honest with you.
I'll go ahead. I'll be bold. I'll make the prediction. I think in the fall they'll put it in the vault, and they're going to use it to help drive subscriptions.
So you think this fall?
I think this fall they're going to throw it in there after golf season essentially is over. As it's getting colder. I think they'll throw it in there. Say it's free with an annual or a month-to-month subscription. So that would be beautiful
for me.
That would be amazing. So tell me, let's wrap this Rory discussion up. Tell me your favorite aspects of the game. Give me your top, handful.
Ooh. You know what? I just like the golf.
Yeah, I
know it sounds really generic, but I've been missing golf. So it's nice, the actual gameplay and the physical golfing, aside from Power Star, which is golf, and it actually has some pretty legit mechanics. But I just like it. I just like playing golf. It's nice. My mom even texted me today, or actually posted on the Gaming on Thrones group page, that she's like, when are we playing? Because when I back in the day on my Sega Genesis, we had the original PGA Tour, and people used to come over, the neighbors used to come over, and we'd have like this game night with like 3 or 4 controllers, and we'd just kind of do a skins tournament, and it was awesome. Perfect. It was great. And now it's kind of like, my stepfather plays a lot of golf games, and he's had PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. And I'm going to talk him into getting an Xbox for the EA Access, because he only plays sports games. That makes sense.
Perfect, yeah.
But she texted me like, hey, when are we doing this? Let's get some things going. Let's have some little tournaments on the weekends or whatever. So, it's just golf. It's fun. It's just it's nice to have a good golf game back.
Yeah, it's nice to have that threat of, at any time I can throw in a golf game. I mean, in my 360 days, I still own my 360, but I just wanted to own a golf game. So I just had it. It didn't have to be the most up to date. Just have one so that whenever I have the itch, I can throw it in, play a couple rounds, maybe, get a couple hours of it, have a buddy over or some friends. I mean, that's going to be actually one of my favorite aspects is the social aspect of the game is we already have golf club, but golf club is more for the hardcore golfers. Granted, you don't have the licenses, but the golf mechanics, it's a lot more difficult to get a good score. Whereas Rory has those arcade controls where it's a lot easier to just have a bunch of your buddies over or hop online and just have a lot of fun, and everybody's going to get a decent score. And if they haven't played it before, they're going to get up to speed real quick with those power-ups and the spinning and all that sort of stuff. It's basic. You can definitely master it, but it's not that hard for a beginner to jump in either. So
sure, and to speak to I didn't mean to interrupt, but to speak to your point about this coming at the right time. I mean, you went out and bought the golf club.
Yep.
Right, because you were looking for that experience.
Exactly.
So
I
think a lot
wanted
of
the
people
golf game, but in that it's just like I said, it's a different golf experience. You can get that more hardcore golf experience out of Rory McIlroy, and it gives you, some courses to do that. If you're a big golf fan, golf person, you do get to play a bunch of those courses that you see the professionals playing. Not all of them yet, but you do get more of that real golf experience. But at the same time, it gives you, a more laid back approach to the same base game. What would you say your least favorite aspect of the game is so far?
That it's golf.
It's the same answer.
My favorite is the same as my least favorite, and only because it's with all the stuff that's out there right now and all the our senses have been driven crazy, I think, as of late with just the games that are coming out nowadays. Even the sports titles, there's a lot going on. So do I love this?
Volume, or are you talking about quality?
I'm not volume. I'm talking about, like quality and just what's in the game. Your senses are going crazy. The music's been, we have orchestras playing now in games. We have like movie directors filming and helping with cutscenes. There's just a lot of things coming at you a lot of the times. And I just think with golf, it's so toned down and relaxed, which is great. And there are experiences that I do want, like, I told you last week that I was playing The Witcher 3, and sometimes I needed a break from that, and I just went and played FIFA just because it's relaxing and I know what I'm doing. There's no secrets or anything. And that's what I would use Rory for. I would use it for that relaxed game, but that's also why it's kind of like, it's just, there's just, let's see what else there is in the game. It's a nice touch that they give you that nightclub style. It's a nice touch that they give you those fantasy courses. That's a good start because if you do want the sense overload, you can get it. It's just a little lacking for me. Is there even a crowd in it?
Oh yeah, yep, that's there.
Okay, because I remember playing.
I don't think when we played online, I don't think it's there. But if you play, I know if you play locally, they're there, and then during your career, there's a crowd.
Because I remember I played the career, and I've gone through a tournament, and I just don't remember seeing them. But that's how unimpactful
they're
they
there.
are.
They're okay. You can't expect a ton. There's a decent variety of models from the crowd, but they don't. There's some reactions. There's hooting and hollering. There's clapping. There's all that sort of stuff. It's okay. It's a little above average, but it's not fantastic.
Yeah, I guess it was just forgettable because I didn't even remember they were there. So I just like a little bit more of the atmosphere, maybe seeing just like I'm actually on the tour, like maybe seeing more sponsorship things, just, more to look at, more to see, more to hear, that kind of thing.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, my worst aspect, I think, is just that arcade is just too easy. It feels like home, which is great, but at the same time, as I was discovering in my last night in my the more I play arcade, arcade is just it's too easy. So that mode is going to get real boring real fast. So I guess this game is going to have legs for me if the tour controls are challenging enough, but to make it hard, but not overly frustrating that I can't keep up with whatever the computer puts up, or if I'm jumping online and want to see how well I rank against the rest of the world, if they're just destroying it, or if I'm able to put up decent scores that I'm maybe a couple back. I'm not expecting to be great or the world's best or anything, but I don't want to be getting plus 10 every time I jump in, whereas somebody online's getting negative 18 every round. So yeah. How about, so we'll wrap this up. Give it a rating out of 10 if you were to rate it right now for Philip Stella. If you were going to rate the game
from 1 to bacon.
And bacon is 10.
Bacon is obviously 10. I would give it a sausage McMuffin with cheese, which is a 7.5.
Okay.
It's not quite bacon, but it's sausage, so it's pretty good.
It's good. It's delicious, but you feel a little weird the next day or like later in the afternoon.
Could be, yeah, because it's McDonald's. So right, I mean, right. No, it's a solid. I'd give it a solid 7.5. The presentation is okay. That stuff that jumped out at me, that really hurt me because, like you said, I do like the courses. I think the player models could be better, and I think that there could be more animation. I'll quickly say this just to wrap up my thoughts after the 7.5 rating I give it. I feel like EA is testing the golf waters again. Like they did just enough to say, okay, here's a golf game. Let us know what you think. Sure. Because if we're going to invest like a lot more money and time and effort into this, we want to know how it's received.
Sure. I like that.
Do I think that's the right way to do it? No, but that's what big developers can do because they can do that.
Yeah, and I think EA is in a place right now where they're picking. Well, a lot of the big developers they're picking and choosing where they want to sink their development dollars. So I think that's a valid point. I would actually go lower than you. I was thinking like just under a 7, like a 6.9.
Okay.
So I enjoy the base gameplay. It's one of those things where that's my rating, but if you actually read the review, you'll find out why. So I think right now it's getting killed by the lack of content, and we've come to expect that content over the years, and that's going to be the big drawback for me. It's a fun, solid golf game. It's for social. It gives me a lot of what I want, but the replayability is not going to be there for me, so that's why I'm going to drop it just below 7. It's solid, definitely not great. They can do a lot more. They can improve a lot, but it's not a bad game. I mean, I'm going to enjoy playing it. I'll get plenty of hours out of it. So, all right, why don't we dive into the rest of the show? We didn't cover off any news. Why don't we just touch up? There's not a whole lot of news going on right now. A lot of the news is around the fall games that are coming out, which we'll preview during episode 3. So we got football, we got basketball, we got hockey, lots of stuff, and news is slowly trickling out about all those. So we'll get into more in depth. Or if you want to join us in the conversation in Boxscore, please join us over there, Facebook/groups/ Boxscore. So yeah, we got a little trickling of news there. Phil, if you want to touch on the big Nintendo news.
Yeah, so Iwata-san, the president of Nintendo, has passed away, and it's it's a blow to the industry for sure. He was definitely one of the more imaginative and creative people, leaders out there. It's sad. He was 55, way too young. He's been sick. It kind of was, there wasn't any information on what was going on, but he had some cancer, and ended up beating him. So, I wish all the best to the Nintendo family and Mr. Iwata's family. we lost a great guy in the industry. I mean, it's sad.
Yeah,
He
we
didn't
all have
take
fond
over.
memories. Go ahead.
Yeah, we all have fond memories of playing our Nintendos.
Yeah.
Haven't had a Nintendo in a long time. He took over in 2002 as the president, so there's not a lot for me to talk about there. But I do respect the hell out of Nintendo and for what they do, and they've got a lot of hardcore fans out there, and deservedly so.
Yeah, you and I were the age where we grew up on our NES and Nintendo and
Mhm.
Tecmo Bowl, and if we're gonna go sports, NES golf. I brought that up. I think last episode played a lot of that. Ice hockey. I got so much enjoyment from sports games, the basic sports games, and I feel like those games kind of hold up. I've been playing some retro games from other genres recently, and those games are rough. Even 10 years ago, it's like, whoa, what's going on? We're used to such quality now.
Mhm.
Whereas I think if we go back to those NES games, the balance was there. The graphics were basic, but you knew what the hell was going on.
The
Um,
gameplay, you're right, was so much more balanced back
mhm.
then.
Yep, exactly. And it was, I mean, you could figure it out. There was always glitches and whatnot, but everybody knew those glitches. So
It was part of the
it's
fun. I mean, it
right.
was part of the mystique of it, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's part of its DNA. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, big news at Nintendo. We neither of us own a Nintendo. We probably will as our kids get older and whatnot, and that's still their focus. And there's
that's
nothing
kind of
wrong with
wrong. I
that.
do own an N64, and we
Oh,
did
you do?
play King
Oh, okay.
Griffey
That's right.
Jr.'s
That's right.
baseball,
That's right. I was
and I own a
thinking current.
GameCube.
I was thinking current
Yes,
gen, but
you're right
yes.
there.
And I have my NES. It's broken, but it's in my attic,
I just
and
can't throw it away.
exactly.
It's
I
a
don't know what I'll
piece
do
of
with it.
me.
All right, so why don't we move on? So we'll cover off on another handful of games this episode. Last episode, if you didn't watch it, we covered off on Project Cars, Ride, Rocket League, and Rory McIlroy. All of those have been released. If you haven't watched that episode, go back, check it out, hop online, check out the reviews of those games. So this episode, we're going to cover off on Trials Fusion, Axis Football, F1 2015, and the Rare Replay. We got a little RC Pro-Am in there, so we squeeze talking about retro games. We're going
Hmm.
to cover off all that. And the other game that we were going to cover, but we decided not to, was Garfield Kart. It's available for the 3DS. So, and neither of us are Nintendo guys, and it's yeah. Anyway.
I don't think it's that. I think it's Garfield Kart. I mean,
Yeah, I did check a review. It got
it's
a 6. So
okay.
not
I
not.
mean,
I
it's
mean,
Garfield
it's
in a
okay.
cart, and he's racing.
Exactly. All right. So for you Trials Fusion people out there, awesome level max. They've teased it at E3 with the revolver wielding cat on top of the unicorn, and I
Best
actually
reveal ever.
I watched the trailer today again, and it had a triple rainbow in the background, which is also
Yes.
amazing. Um, and there was actually some gameplay on it. It did come out today. I haven't picked it up yet, but it looks like a lot of fun. There's like a little bit of a kind of a story mode with your cat and unicorn. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of the series. I actually didn't discover it until recently, but I love it, and I think them poking. I mean, it's already a big tongue-in-cheek game, but now poking even more fun, but using those same mechanics, it's a fun arcade experience. So they have so it comes out today for Xbox One, PS4, and PC. And they have 30 new tracks, seven new garage items. So they add some little customization, a couple achievements, some challenges. But I think it's more Trials. It's $10 I think if you already own Trials
Sweet. That's not bad.
Fusion. Yeah, so that's that's not bad at all if you want to extend the life of that game. And it just looks like a lot of fun. I'll have a better kind of hands-on during the next episode to tell you how I like it. But it's just gonna be a lot of fun. If you like Trials, grab it, have some fun, have some buddies over, and just have a riot.
Cool.
Yeah. What did you find out about Axis Football?
Well, Access Football is done by a small team from Access Gaming. It's a PC football game. It looks
So it's
very rough. There's
competition
not
for
a lot
that
of.
kind of dish, right? I mean, that's the point, right?
It's the point. It's something for PC players to do. um, I
Okay.
watched a few videos on it. I read up on it a little bit. It with some help, it could compete. Absolutely. I mean, for a PC gamer, they don't get Madden, so there's no football game there, or there's no big time football game there. Um, the developer is very upfront about what the game doesn't have and what they hope to have soon. So this game actually releases tomorrow on Steam. And Operation Sports did an interview with the developer, and it's going to cost $19.99, and you can get 10% off of that the first week on Steam. So it'll be on sale.
So they know, I mean, they're not going to charge a ridiculous, I mean, they're not charging a AAA price.
Right. Exactly. They're charging like a Kickstarter game or, like an arcade game type of price for it. And they should because the game isn't finished.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just speak on that a little bit. These are features that are not available right now. They won't be available at launch, but they will be available soon afterwards.
Okay.
The game is going to have full mod support, so the modders out there in the PC
Nice.
community will be able to do some wonderful
things. It'll be
things.
real interesting to see what they do with that because they can throw in essentially the real rosters and real,
real
logos and all that. It'll be interesting.
Those modders out there, they know what they're doing, and they can make a good game great. So we'll see how that works. There's going to be a franchise mode, so they're going to redo the player models. They're going to add player moves like spins, stiff arms, etc. The linemen, there's a lot of bad reviews on what the linemen act like, kind of stand in front of each other. There's going to be new lineman interactions and animations. There'll be a coach and GM mode, so that's good.
Nice.
There'll be AI versus AI matches, and I'm not sure how that'll work.
So you probably get to watch essentially, like you probably call the plays and then watch what happens. I would imagine
right, like that's what I was going to say in the coach or GM mode, or even in some parts of the franchise mode, you might be able to see that. They're going to add hot routes, and this is an odd one for such a hot route. This is an odd one for such a low key game. It's going to have Oculus VR support.
Really?
Yeah. So there's awesome. That. And there's a controller support as well. That's coming. Okay. Let me just run over some of the modes that they have right now. Is the season mode. They're going to have roster mods for it. There's local multiplayer, and the franchise mode, as I said, will be coming soon. So there'll be all that. And like I said, it's available tomorrow. Steam will have achievements for it. They'll have trading cards for it. So we'll see.
Cool.
It may have a life. We'll see where it goes from here. You can't blame these guys for trying,
Oh, absolutely. I think any competition is going to be welcome, especially I didn't realize that PC doesn't have Madden, so that's going to be welcome to that community that are football fans, and the fact that that has mod support there, they'll take it and run with it. I mean, you've seen the crazy mods that are out there, so.
And it's sad that the PC community doesn't get a lot of the sports games anymore. There's some titles that still come to it, but a lot of them have been pulled. They just don't port it because there wasn't enough player base to support the port. So, I'm hoping as PC gaming grows as it is rapidly, I'm hoping that comes back because, I love all platforms that we can play video games on. I think that everybody should have a choice.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about, I think in the group, I don't think we talked on a show, but the modders are keeping alive MVP 05. And that's still, apparently, you can buy it on eBay. It's like $60 or more right now. And the modders are keeping that updated with current rosters and current voiceovers and current logos and current divisions and all that crazy stuff. So, once PC gamers get a hold of these sorts of things, if the game is solid, they'll keep it alive. They'll customize it. So, it'll be fun to see what they do there. All right, the next game we're going to talk about is F1 2015. Comes out July 21st on Xbox One and PS4. It already came out on PC. Reviews are already out. Reviews are middle of the road, kind of high 60s, low 70s-ish. I haven't seen a whole lot of the big at least the North American outlets review the game yet. But the game is out by Codemasters. They are the same company that did way back in the day. I found they did Micro Machines.
Okay, let me stop you right there because that was
yeah.
one of my favorite racing games ever.
Yes, I know.
I rented that game all the time.
Right, because Micro Machines
Should
were
have
so
bought
much
it.
fun
I
back
did.
then.
It was fantastic. You had boats. It was great.
Yep.
In a
Yep.
bathtub.
So they have a long history of racing games. They did Colin McRae and Dirt, the originals. Another developer took that over down the road, and then they've been in the F1 series for quite a while now. It sounds like this is the seventh F1 game. So a lot of what I've seen is, well, why don't I go through some of the kind of the marketing highlights anyway, and then we'll kind of dive into the reviews or the pros and the cons of the game. So you got a full racing calendar. They're going to be frequent updates to keep the game up to date. It's kind of the first next gen iteration of the series. We have updated graphics, all that sort of fun stuff. We have a championship season. We have a pro season. We have online. Sounds like online isn't available quite yet, but they're going to throw that in there pretty soon. And that's all. There's little tweaks or there's little features here and there, but it sounds like it's back to this whole content thing with Rory. They made a really nice looking game. The pros that I've read, it's 1080p, 60 frames per second. The driving's great. It handles really well. It feels like there's a weight of your car on the course. It has. Oh, it's actually, so qualifying's a big deal in racing in general. So as you're qualifying, it has a live TV feed of the other qualifiers that you can watch
That's
after
cool.
you're done, which is kind of cool. So, everybody kind of qualifies at the same time, and when you're done, you can say, oh, okay, let's see how I'm doing compared to these other people in real time, which is pretty cool. The other little feature that I thought was cool, and we've talked about Connect in the past, is they have some Connect commands that you can use. So as you're pitting, you can yell out commands to your team, and they'll act accordingly. So
I always want to meet the guy who actually uses all those in-game commands.
just get like a webcam, sneak it on the wall, and see what he's doing.
Yeah, just because it's so cool to have them, but I've never actually used. Even playing like Battlefield, where it's probably the easiest to be like, need ammo. Yeah, I've never even done that. There's just
Well, you don't. You have to. I don't know. We're so used to just doing everything with a controller. You don't think about it at the time.
No.
The only time I really use it is when I'm at a buddy's house and we're playing couch co-op and something ridiculous happened. Then I'll yell at the Xbox to record that or whatever.
Oh, I do that a lot. Yeah, but
Yeah.
none of the actual commands in
Like
the game.
In-game stuff, right? Yeah. So the cons that they've been talking about, it's pretty light on content. A lot of the features, and I'll list them off here, that were in the game last year are no longer there. No career mode, no season challenge, no rival system, no online co-op, no champions mode, no classic content, no split screen, no functional safety car, no motorhome, no paddock, no TV interviews. That's a lot that they stripped out of the game. Yeah. I haven't seen a list like that for, NHL had a lot stripped out, so you could probably go down that same type of list, but that's a lot. So yeah, it sounds like they are going to be updating the game over time. So like the online mode, they're going to be throwing in there. So they're going to be making the game a little more robust. So I don't know. It's not going to be. I don't think it's a full 60. I'd have to double check my facts on that one, but I know on PC it's like 30 or $40. So we'll see what it is on consoles, which I think is justified. Hopefully they realize that it's not a complete game and they're charging customers accordingly. So yeah, if you're an F1, yeah, you'll see. We'll see. If you're an F1 guy, I won't dive into this game at all unless it's dirt cheap at some point. It sounds like the racing's cool. The graphics look ridiculous. I saw some of the races that they had online where people are they're driving through the rain, and you can, if you're doing first-person mode, you see the beads of water going up on your windshield and whatnot. It looks amazing, but it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot there right now. All right, why don't you close us out on our preview section, Phil, with a little rare replay.
Well, as I said in a previous episode, that the RC Pro-Am games were my jam back in the day. They're just fun. The sounds were a little annoying, but that's okay.
Yeah, the oil slicks.
Yeah, the little screeching.
Mhm.
So, but they were cool. I mean, for the time, I mean, you could make tune-ups of the car. You could buy different engines, buy different car parts. I mean, it was cool. You could buy an oil slick or whatever for your car. I mean, it was for the day, it was pretty cool. And it's just a classic, fun, arcade style racing game. I mean, there's not much else to say. If you have never played RC Pro-Am or you never owned an NES and you're a lot younger, man, than I or Colin, and you do find some value in the rare replay, I just, I'd really recommend giving them a shot. They're fun. There's just a fun, good time to play. I always remember playing Versus 2. Two-player was fun, really fun.
Oh yeah.
And I don't remember. I played RC Pro-Am 2, but not too much. I had RC Pro-Am, and I played a lot of that. And there wasn't too much of a difference between the two games.
Well, if for those that aren't familiar, it has that unique kind of that what would you call that angle, like that third.
It's kind of like a top, but it's a top down, but it's almost at the angle.
Yeah, right.
Top angle.
Whereas
I
all the
believe
racing games, I think most of the racing games are either top down, and you could see your car going around the track, or you're behind the car. Whereas this one's at that third angle.
Yeah. I mean, this is an 8-bit Nintendo, so it's basically what would equate to like a TV broadcast view nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's up and away, but you get kind of the top, but you also get the side for the 3D aspect of it. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really compelling when I was playing that game. I was young, right? And so I didn't know any better. But I thought that game looked different, and it was also a lot of fun. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to play.
Some of the courses got really challenging to get through. I mean,
oh yeah.
So yeah, it was a good time.
Nice, cool. All right, so that's gonna do it for our previews for this episode. Next episode, we're gonna dive into what's coming out this fall. We'll probably talk, some good ones. We'll talk a little Mad Max, just because there's a huge car element in that game. So Phil's going to talk about that one for you. We have Forza Motorsport 6 coming out, Need for Speed, The Crew, Wild Run, and Trackmania Turbo, a little more arcade style game.
Boogity, let's go racing.
There's so many racing games. I mean, if you you have so much to choose from, it's ridiculous.
It really is. It's like, how do you choose?
Yeah, I mean, and there's multiple games for each style. So you got 3 or 4 arcade games. You got 3 or 4 street games. You got your classic, your classic racing hardcore games. You got your NASCAR game. You got F1 game. I mean, it's crazy. There's so much out right now.
That was a rhetorical question for you, Colin. See, I said, how do you choose? And you were supposed to say, by listening to the pregame. We'll give you what you need to know to make an educated decision.
Yeah, I got to work on my hosting skills because I did not pick up on that.
Unbelievable.
We'll work on that. All right, so before we go, though, we're going to dive into a little exhibition match. We've already covered off on it quite a bit during the show, but Phil, tell me, now that we're in the next gen, everyone is used to what they're used to. We're a year and a half, 2 years in now. Are these missing features from a gamer standpoint? Are these missing features that we keep seeing? Is that acceptable?
No, I don't think it's acceptable. As we talked about before the show, I think we're both pretty much on the same page on this one. But I'm going to lean this way and say it's just not acceptable, because I get it that it's a new console that you're developing on, and I get that some of you are on a 1-year cycle. But come on, let's get the modes we had on the previous game into the new game. How do we not do that? How do we screw that up? How do we charge you the same price for one game and then take things out of it and give you the new game? Yeah, and I get
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, the graphics are boosted up a little bit and all that, but sometimes they're not even that noticeable of a graphics boost. Well, we added crowd noise. All right, fuck. I want the shit that I had in the last game. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I
no.
just don't think it's fair.
We have a little different perspectives, and I'm my budget's not as tight these days, so I'm actually okay with getting my new
I'm
game
rich, bitch.
and not no. um, but back a couple years ago, I was a little bit tighter, and I would be looking for games that had content that I could spend hundreds of hours in the game. Whereas now I'm okay with getting my in the case of golf, I just have a golf game now, and I want it now, so I'm going to have it now, and I'm just gonna have a golf game for the next couple of years, and this is going to be the game, but I'm going to pay for it right now. And I'm okay with them focusing. I mean, EA is getting a lot of heat right now for this content stuff. NHL, Rory, can't think of the other ones right now, but they're focusing on the right thing. If they focused on all the features and the modes, but the gameplay was crap, I think you would get just as much of an uproar. You'd say, well, all this stuff's here, but it's just the game is awful and it's not balanced and it looks horrible and this and that. So I think I'm okay with them focusing on the games are the on ice, the on the course. That game is good. My content's going to come in the next couple of years, and hopefully especially with golf,
Maybe.
they're gonna patch it in. Maybe I'm just a little more optimistic on that side of things, but I do want to see some competition to push the monopoly that EA has on a lot of sports games. But I'm okay with them focusing on the game and give me the content next year or patch it in.
See, and like you said, that's where we differ. I feel like the gameplay, yes, the gameplay should be there, but that's not an excuse to just leave other things out. I mean, what are they taking the 1 to 1.5 years to develop? I mean, what are we taking all this time to develop if we're leaving modes out of games? And don't give me that it's a new console anymore, because we're 3 years in at this point, and you've had dev kits for a very long time. You should have been able to get this done. I don't buy that excuse. Oh, well, we got to keep the gameplay. It's got to be good, and yes, it does. And you're right, it does have to be good. But also, like, you're taking things away. Why are you doing that? Even if you didn't add any modes, don't take them away.
Yeah, I think
You
what
know,
they're struggling with is setting expectations because they didn't set expectations as if, hey, we're focusing on the game for you guys, so we have to strip a couple things away, and here's all the reasons why. I think they need to do a better job of being upfront with that rather than just saying, or either ignoring it and hoping people don't figure it out before they buy the game or before reviews come out, or um, just hiding behind that oh it's we're figuring it out. If they're upfront with people, I think it would be a little bit better received.
probably. I mean, a lot of the sports titles do. I know even with Rory, it was, are we going to get Augusta? Are we not? I mean, it just wasn't known for a little while, and it seemed like they were very tight-lipped about it until they finally said, yeah, it's not in there.
The other thing,
And
sorry, the other thing that they could do is sacrifice the price. Um, they're not gonna do that, but that would be the other thing. I think people are getting upset because they're paying the same amount for less content. So if they adjusted the price accordingly, 50, 40, whatever, then
Mhm.
again, people wouldn't be as upset. They'd say, well, okay, well I'm paying less for less content. That makes sense to me.
Well, we need people that are not like you and speak with our wallets and not buy the game for just because it's there. Jeez,
Yeah,
Colin,
yeah, yeah. I know. No, this
screwing us
speaking with the
all over.
wallet is definitely that's real. That's real, and I'm a big advocate of that. But in the case of hockey and golf, I wanted a next gen hockey game, and I wanted it now, so I was gonna buy it.
Yeah,
And
I get it.
I
I
want a
get
next
it.
gen golf game, and I want it now. I was
It's
gonna
your
buy it.
money. You want it now.
Right. I mean, maybe I'll wait on the other games. We'll see. But anyway,
Well, you know what? To end this exhibition match, I'm going to quote someone from Bloodsport, and I don't know his name, but You lose, American asshole.
Beautiful. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the pregame. We will be back, as I said, next week with the final episode of the summer series. We'll be covering off on the rest of the racing games and talking about the fall preview. Lots of exciting news coming out for the fall. Hopefully, bigger, better games to come. So, so we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
See you next week, guys. Thanks.
Well, that wraps it up for this week's pregame. See you again next week, same time, same venue, and thank you for listening. Hey, sports fans, come be a part of our Boxscore Facebook community at facebook.com/groups/Boxscore.